The Syrian army is making rapid advances against the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces towards the SDF stronghold of Raqqa. Government troops say they've now captured the northern town of Al-Tabqa and taken control of the Euphrates Dam. We're getting reports of heavy clashes between both sides. Syrian state media says the SDF has been using drones in areas east of Deir. Al Jazeera's Amir Al-Abad is there.
I don't know if you can hear the sound of shelling. We have been hearing this continuous shelling for the past 10 minutes. This is the exchange of fire between the government forces and SDF. It was very loud and it can be heard across the city of Deir. We can see bright flashes illuminating the night sky. Tribal forces aligned with the government have just announced that they are clashing with SDF forces in multiple locations in the province.
Well, let's look at why Raqqa is important to both the SDF and the Syrian government. Well, after more than 3 years of fighting, Syria's sixth largest city was recaptured by the SDF after it was seized by ISIL back in 2014. The SDF's continued control of the city and the province gives it significant leverage. It's home to several prisons holding thousands of ISIL fighters, as well as significant oil and gas reserves. Let's bring in William Lawrence, shall we? He's a former US diplomat and a professor of international relations at the American University. He joins us live from Washington, D.C. William, always good to have you with us. I mean, how surprised are you by the sheer speed of this offensive by the Syrian army? I mean, the Kurdish-led SDF seems to be crumbling quickly on all fronts. They've already lost Aleppo, as our correspondent Zain Bazravi was just telling us there. Now their stronghold of Raqqa is under threat from the army as well.
I am surprised by the speed, but it's important to note, and your correspondent began to get into this, I caught the tail end of what your correspondent was saying, that this was supposed to be a phased withdrawal. Under the March 10th agreement, the SDF is supposed to withdraw from these same areas, and the Syrian army is supposed to come in and replace it. Instead, what's happening is the Syrian army is moving in much more quickly than they were supposed to, and the SDF is sort of caught between a tactical retreat and a phased retreat that's supposed to be under the agreement. And then, as your correspondent said, moving towards the more Kurdish majority areas where there's a different dynamic. And so this was supposed to be quick. It was supposed to happen by the end of 2025 under the March agreement. Instead, what's happening is both sides are sort of violating the spirit, if not the exact terms of the agreement, and we're having a chaotic change of the guard rather than a phased change of the guard.
Yeah, so what does all of this mean then, William, for the future of the SDF? I mean, they were supposed to be absorbed into the Syrian army, weren't they? That never happened. But the SDF isn't going away, and it has strong political support on the ground, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it's important to remember the SDF was, during the 10 years of conflict, 12 years of conflict, all over the country. They were south of Damascus. They were in control of much of the northwest, in almost total control of the northeast. And there were different sort of factions of the SDF, the sort of Kurdish-y ones and the less Kurdish-y ones. And that's all changing right now. And what's supposed to happen is a big political agreement and a big security agreement that happens all at once. And instead, we really have neither. You know, we've had these elections, which you've covered in the past, which really didn't deliver exactly the way people wanted. And as your question implied, the SDF isn't going to go away because they represent the aspirations of democratic Syria, they represent the aspirations of Kurdish Syria, and also of these sort of left-leaning governments of the past that governed in northeast Syria.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that the SDF had become a significant ally to the US on the ground in their long-term fight against ISIL and also during the civil war. So what is the US playbook here, William? Is Trump looking for a quick fix to the crisis?
As always. And there won't be. This will be needing sustained engagement by the U.S. And I met with Tom Barak in Doha last month, and he's well informed and he sort of knows what he's doing. But I'm not sure he has all the tools he needs in his toolkit to solve these problems on his own and to solve them in a way that delivers sustainable solutions. The U.S. has been much more focused on the fight against terrorism. The breaking news in Washington on Syria today is all about, U.S. chasing terrorists in Syria, not even about this. And so the U.S. needs to really focus on politics as much as on security and on fighting terrorism, something that is not their tendency. They tend to over-focus on the security side and under-focus on the political support.
Just a final thought to you, William. I mean, there's been a flurry of diplomatic activity in neighbouring Iraq to try and de-escalate the situation in Syria. As you mentioned, the US envoy to Syria, Tom Barak, is there. He's been meeting Mazloum Abdi, the head of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. How difficult is it going to be to translate those diplomatic efforts into some kind of sustainable ceasefire and peace framework going forward, away from this kind of apparent quick fix?
Very difficult, and more difficult than the Trump administration wants it to be and characterizes it as being. Trump, as you said twice, wants the quick fix, and he wants Tom Barak to sort of wave a magic wand and get what he wants. And that's not really how things work. I mean, sustainable solutions involve trust building, and we've had very little of that.
All right, William Lawrence, always good to get your thoughts and your analysis, William. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.